So what's up, everybody? Headed to work this morning and just wanted to talk about something, a little vlog for you, something to think about. We say it all the time as motorcycle riders, like how much more efficient it is to ride a bike for commuting than to drive your car. So, with that in mind, I crunched some numbers. Now, the numbers I crunched were a happy medium between my truck, a Nissan Frontier, crew cab, or not even crew cab, 4-door, whatever they call it, SE model, with a 6-cylinder and automatic. So, point being, it's not a gas saver. And so, I split the difference between that and, say, like an older model Honda Civic, as far as figuring fuel economy, and then I rounded down on yearly insurance. I rounded down on tires. I kind of gave the vehicle the best possible chance, and then I didn't round up anything on the motorcycle. So, taking the KLR for example, 50 miles to the gallon. It cost me 2 quarts of oil at nearly $10 a piece, plus an oil filter from Rocky Mountain ATV, which is like $3 that I just buy when I'm already ordering other crap anyway, so I don't pay shipping. So that's $25 for an oil change. I figured insurance. Let's see, what else? I figured my insurance to be $100 a year, which it's actually 90, 87, something like that. Tires, I figured $120 for tires on the motorcycle. I only allotted $400 for tires on the vehicle, which is, if you got like a older model Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla, you probably can get away with $100 tires. And then I had to take that number and divide it by the mileage, because nobody's going through a set of car tires in 10,000 miles. So I figured all these numbers were figured on not necessarily 1 year of ownership, but 10,000 miles of ownership. So how much maintenance would you spend? How much would it cost to keep the bike on the road in that amount of time? 10,000 miles. I figured fuel at $2.50 a gallon, which is, again, more in favor of the car than the bike, because the more the fuel goes up, then the more advantage the bike has, as exponentially it gets better fuel economy. So, wrap all them numbers up, and I was allowing $5,000 to buy a bike. So you currently got a truck. You're like, man, I need to either A, get a gas saver car for like $5,000, or B, I need to go get a motorcycle for $5,000. Either way, the idea is to save on fuel. I figure that's a fair comparison, because a lot of people do that, at least around here. If you live in the city, you may not own one vehicle, but if you live out in a rural area, it's not uncommon to have a work vehicle, have a regular vehicle, whatever. So I allowed $5,000 to go buy each vehicle. So in 10,000 miles, the motorcycle only came ahead of the car by, I think it was $550. I left my notes at home where I added all this up last night, so smooth move. So I think the motorcycle came ahead of the car by $550 in 1 year's time. The majority of that coming from fuel savings. Now, I can't remember what the other biggest saver was, but by far the biggest saver was fuel economy. I think followed second probably by oil change. and oil change, I only figured, again, $25 for the bike. And then you figure, I think I only figured $50 for the car. Again, giving the car the best chance to win, or keep the gap closed. So if the motorcycle comes ahead of the car in yearly cost of ownership by $500, $550, whatever. So then 550 times 5 for 50,000 miles, and you still haven't really paid for the bike in the first place. And the car definitely hasn't technically paid for itself, meaning that it saved you enough that you can go out and again buy another $5,000 vehicle with the money saved from the fact that you went out and bought a $5,000 vehicle to commute to work in. So then, and there's a lot of bikes that you can get for that 5K mark, brand new, which is why I said 5K. Just a good round number. The umpteen billion used bikes you can get that are in good shape, and but definitely a handful of new bikes, Honda Rebel, sport bike's your thing. You can get a R3. Not that any of these would necessarily be the best commuters, but if you lived in a very urban area, your commute to work is very slow speed-wise, then you can get a Grom, a Honda Monkey. You could get an array of scooters, which brings me to my next evaluation, is America's uninfatuation with scooters. So I ran the numbers again using Yamaha's Premier Maxi scooter, which is here in America, it is the X-Max 300. In other areas, it might be the X-Max 400, and in some areas it may still be the T-Max, which is like a 530cc scooter. So Yamaha X-Max. Would be my choice if I was going to buy a two-wheeled vehicle and my sole intention was to ride to and from work. Here's why. In 5 years, or not 5 years, excuse me, in 50,000 miles, it will have literally paid for itself in savings, not to mention you could continue riding it after that. Also, not to mention that if you use that moment, 50,000 mile mark, to go get another one, you would still have that one. I'm not factoring in used value for a 50,000 mile scooter into money saved when you trade up or go buy another one. So in 50,000 miles, that scooter's advertised at like 85 miles to the gallon. I rounded that down to 80. Insurance on it, I got on my Progressive app, typed in what vehicle, got a quote for comprehensive and liability, which is what I run on all my motorcycles, because let's be honest, if you wreck it, you're either going to total it or you're going to probably fix it yourself. One of the two, especially with the KLR. And so that's the type of insurance I have on the KLR. So that's what I figured the X-Max on. Oil change and maintenance, I figured the exact same. Tires went from $120 a set to like $65 a set. What else? That's about it. Fuel economy, oil, insurance, tires. There's no chain maintenance, which I didn't even factor into the 50,000 miles worth of motorcycle. And so after doing all of that at 10,000 miles and figuring those numbers, you end up saving, I forget the exact number, but it beat the motorcycle by a couple $100. Again, most of that coming from fuel. Going from, the motorcycle beat the car by 25 miles to the gallon, so double the fuel economy. The scooter didn't beat the motorcycle by double, but it beat it by 35 miles per gallon. So, substantial amount more than how much, just mileage wise, 10 more miles to the gallon than what the motorcycle beat the car at to begin with. So, and I didn't figure that. I figured, like I said, 80. So I'm figuring it beat it by 30 miles to the gallon. So figure all those numbers, times them by 5. Let's say you own it for 50,000 miles. Boom, it pays for itself. It literally pays for itself in savings. Not to mention things like, after you get 30,000 miles on a $5,000 scooter, what are you going to do? I know what I would do. I'd probably feel like I've gotten a good life out of it already. I'd be happy for every mile it got me after that. But if something happened to it, I probably wouldn't be worried about fixing it. If, say, I was in an accident that I didn't get hurt, it didn't shake me up, I still wanted to ride after that accident, I'm probably not going to try to fix that scooter. I'm probably just going to buy another. So after a couple years and 20 or 30,000 miles, I'm going to call and knock my insurance down to $15 a year with my multi-policy discount, just having just liability. No comprehensive, no, just liability, bodily injury. And so I'm just going to knock my savings down even more. And again, that doesn't factor in the amount of money that you could technically recoup from either selling it, which, let's be honest, you're not going to sell it for a lot if it's got 50,000 miles on it. You might sell it for $1,000 if you've done the maintenance and it still runs good. You may not sell it at all. You may just keep riding it and just keep seeing the savings roll in. But if you live in a more urban area where you don't have to have something that can go 75 miles an hour to get you to work, then you don't need to spend $5,000 either. I've owned a Yamaha S-Max. When I say I owned it, I did own it, but it was my wife's. But I rode it once every couple weeks, especially when she was going through spells where she wasn't riding it very often. And that little thing would do 80 miles an hour, like 85 indicated, but it wasn't 85, it was like 80. But it got 90, at 80 miles an hour indicated, more or less, me driving it to and from work, the couple times I did drive it to and from work, which is a roughly 70 mile round trip, I was getting 90 miles to the gallon still. I actually would have kept that scooter and rode it to work when my wife got pregnant and decided she didn't want it anymore. But, to ride it to work for 70 miles at that kind of speed, it was literally just wide open, tapped out. If it had been a 200cc scooter, game changer, I'd still own it. But I don't. So just to point out a couple things why I would pick the vehicle I said, beyond the miles per gallon and the cost of ownership paying for itself. If you commute on a motorcycle and that's all you use it for, then there's some things you care about and there's some things you do not care about. It would be nice if it had good sporty handling, which the X-Max probably does. The S-Max that I had did. Drug the exhaust on it a time or two on the right side. Never drug anything on the left side, I don't think. Nothing hangs out to drag. If if you drag something on the left side, you're laying on the ground. But I mean, sporty ride would be nice, things like that. But what you're really looking for is good wind protection. X-Max has got it. You're looking for good fuel economy. X-Max has got it. You want some kind of dry and or lockable storage, and you want it to be included in that $5,000 price tag, which no motorcycle is going to give you. X-Max has got that included. 45 liters of it, to be exact, which is, for us Americans, 12 gallons. It's like 11.9 gallons. So imagine 2 5-gallon buckets that you can stuff all your crap in. However, it's not a 12-inch cylinder, so you can stuff bigger crap in it. And then, after you fill up them 2 5-gallon buckets, you still got 2 more gallons. And that, not to mention that it's got 2 more cubby holes that are also dry storage, one lockable, one not lockable, up in the dash, that are big enough for things like a baseball hat, a wallet, car keys, phone. Inside one of those cubby holes is a USB port, and then you also get adjustable windshield, adjustable handlebars. If you're not familiar with scooters, a lot of them have a bodywork design over the bars, therefore you can't adjust them. These are 2-position adjustable. There's some other features. I can't remember exactly. I think it comes with heated grips as well. Heated grips or a heated seat. Can't remember. And then whichever one it doesn't come with, the other one may be an optional extra, or I may be getting it confused with the T-Max. But I think it does come with one of them. If it don't, they're optional extras. Heated seat, heated grips, which would be sweet to have. Yeah, 300cc engine, goes over 100 miles an hour, right at that 100 mark and change. So yeah, that would be the vehicle I choose if I have to go out and buy something just to commute to work on and or run errands on. That is the motorcycle I choose, a scooter. Alright, so I hope y'all enjoyed this little experimental. I guess the whole video is experimental. I've never vlogged from my truck and just talked about motorcycle stuff. This video is probably a little long in the tooth, but you know, it gets you thinking. If you were somebody that went out and bought a bike thinking it'll be fun and I can commute to work on it because it'll save me money, did you ever sit down and figure out how much money it's going to save you? I never have. I just always knew it saved me money, probably saved me double in gas money, and which is right. And so yeah, I sit down and crunch the numbers. I was happy with what I saw, but if I was going to go out and buy a bike just to commute on, the only way to make it fully where I'd be satisfied with it, like I said, would be it needs to last long enough to save me enough money to replace itself, and that happens around 50,000 miles, not accounting for selling the vehicle or trading it in on the next one. So yeah, there's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe you commute on a bike and that's the only real reason you have it. Maybe you're thinking about getting a second vehicle to commute to work on or wherever on, and you just hadn't decided yet. Well, there you go. There's some rough numbers to kind of give you an idea, at least in my world, how much it would save me based on the motorcycle I currently have, the truck I currently have, and the potential scooter, which would be the best case scenario. So yeah, until next time, catch y'all later.